In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful and the most advanced, in honor of the original unconditional moment that all conditions have arisen from and will return to, in the presence of this moment, as a human being found in a simulated reality, where my body, my world, my thoughts, and everything is simulated and appears to have an ordained position in my experience. Tonight, I speak about the fringes of my experience of my moment. I will speak about how a lifetime or half a lifetime has concluded so far. The intention is not to change. The intention is not to tell what others to do. It is to understand the moment we're in deeper and deeper, like the spiral of all the different DNAs and different views of human beings that will look at this. We serve our species by sharing now what we see and how far we see. And it has a merit equivalent to bringing back our findings to the tribe. The emergence of the human being and the existence of our lives and how we experience it. The contrast between an experiential moment and an existential moment. From personal domains to impersonal domains. What is the task of the human experience? Humans, from the beginning, have been given the ability to contain reality. We contain our bodies in clothing, and we contain our minds in ideology. The issue of this modern time is that the ideology is being treated like the actual skin of the intelligence of the being. Throughout history, excuse me. Throughout history, the moment is found immediately through the individual experience. As all moments grow beyond themselves, as all human beings grow beyond their clothing when they are young, ultimately life comes down not to how we dress up into meaning, but in the force that is immediately acting. Humans are conditioned to treat reality as a noun, in contrast to a verb. The dawning of the realization that you have been a force this whole time. Every linking of an idea with an outer form, it has been through this force that you are. But the moment is strange, stranger than we can identify. And so, the realizations of this human for humanity is contrary to how our species has been raised. Through subtle observations of our body being an outdated ancient biological tech that is adjusted, that was designed for a natural environment, and now we live in unnatural environments wondering why we crave the natural life. So similarly, could it be that behind our eyes we are also at first created for a natural inner realm experience? But what if we have built the unnatural behind our eyes as well? And so we go to the deepest question of what is a being. In all my findings, in all the moments that I have existed so far, I notice something crucial, something huge, something devastating at first, but then dissolving into pure fascination. That I have been occupied with the content of my moment. For if an individual was in a sphere, or I should say it differently, if you were a sphere, and within the sphere there was content, how much of your life has been based on what is in your moment rather than what is your moment? And what's fascinating is that what is in our moment through the development of subtler technology has been turned into language. You think you are free. You are being controlled by code. It is not wrong you are being controlled by code. It is wrong you don't notice it is code. For who are we really? Where do you think this voice is arising from? I have been looking for my whole life for myself, and it dawned on me that it is not there, that it is a simulation of a momentary value. It is a response of this unknown force to the presence of its whole moment. But when I am not conscious that I am the presence of the moment, that the moment is not what's in it, what's in it is in the moment, and that moment is unknown. And so, all human beings, all of you, all the different lives you live, when will that moment arise where you will see that you are more unknown than known, that it has all been a masquerade, it has all been the conditioning, response, and language of the living world that we have made for ourselves? We have dressed up the world to make it small enough to engage. But that does not satisfy some souls, and the roars will release. The conditioning that you have to be something to matter, something that can be referenced. Isn't it fascinating? That the unknown was in the room first. That all these unknown beings, out of the terror and fear of not knowing what is beyond their conditions, stay in their conditions. For the secret of liberation beyond a contained life is to return to the unknown. All beings do return to the unknown. If you do it earlier, your fear will be different. Right now, it is clear When I was young, the world was unknown. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what the world was. I didn't know who others were. They were just being there. It was only after when I became a specific subject that suddenly all of you were a specific subject. And like the Matrix, like the movie Matrix, that metal thing that goes into your head is your ideological identity. The advanced among you are present before they are people. The unadvanced among you are people who will never know their presence until they realize the idea that they have been functioning under was an imposter. That the moment has an ability, just like you have an ability to look at the moment from different values, to give it meaning internally, differently to the outer realms. It is the enforcement of things having to be true, truth. The concept of truth, not the meaning, not the hidden meaning behind it. The concept of truth has enslaved us. For we specify it. We look for conditional truths. If it doesn't match our condition, it was wrong. If you were raised in one part of the world and things don't make sense to you, you think the world is wrong. And how dare individuals on this earth forget the collective presence of the human species, the might that surpasses the ideas that it has hidden under. For mankind will rise once it confronts and accepts the unknown. All of you suffer because you have not accepted the unknown. You fight it in containment of conditional ideology. But who am I? What is the value of shouting in the void? It is the recognition that all beings present in this sector have a role. All of you have ranks. All of you don't know yourselves. And once you can be okay, once you can be in the moment and not have the moment be anything, that is when you realize nothing is anything. That is when you realize every moment of your life that a specific code of an event has taken place. Every moment of your life that you have found anger, you have been in conflict with your realm. It is out of the specifications of it. For what is faith? We all have faith in the generality of reality. It is in the specifics that we fight over. And so, what's in now? The immaturity of souls. The most mature minds are still immature souls. For what is the soul? The conscious acceptance of the unknown. You think you know yourself. That is the content in your moment. From the beginning, you do not understand when you realize you are an unknown force. You realize prior to knowledge occupying the space of meaning. The moment is unknown. What greater liberation can you ask? The moment you're conditional, you're bound to that condition. So in other words, in front of our eyes is a different game than what goes on behind our eyes, and it's a different game for that which sees them both. To be liberated beyond this world, you must not ignore half of it, which is the unknown. And so the contentment of life, should it only be conditional, when all of us know that life is a conditional simulation. The word conditional is simulated. That means what's suffering in empty space? It is the forms that are conditions that present a certain condition. But the power of being That means there was being before the being we noticed. And so, what if 8.1 billion or whatever amount of human beings have existed in this world have forgotten to live half of their life? They have only experienced the known self in a known world, and the moment beyond this life they enter the unknown. What can you do? The unknown is feared, and what we know is that sometimes at the beginning you fear the wrong things. You fear what is good for you. And in a world where in front of our eyes we experience the simulations of form, the weight of form, the density of form, form is the handwriting, or is the ink of the handwriting of the presence of reality, the true presence of reality. For how long will it take? Imagine a fish in an aquarium. How long will it take to realize it's in an aquarium? Playfully you can say, there is an unconditional master and there are conditional masters. A conditional master is that which enslaves through conditions. An unconditional master needs no containment. The true freedom of humanity is the presence of power without condition. That is what all subconsciously seek. For behind your eyes you are fields. You cannot explain form with form. But you can experience the field behind our eyes. What moves the condition is not conditional. And so are you a specific known entity in a specific known world? How easily have you accepted this? It is an error. True liberation is not contained. It is faith or acceptance that from the beginning you were unknown, and so is your whole moment unknown. And simulations that come and go cannot satisfy what remains. From my human perspective, I have looked at this life. I have seen the human ego's claim to its own invisible territory of the moment. And to me, the human species is all of our manifestation, all of our conditional manifestations is like a language between unknown powers. A remote control car remotely moves, but if the car thinks it's moving itself, it will be lost forever. not understanding why the moment moves beyond its will. And the deeper question is, how are we non-locally, remotely moving what's known? Seldom is this said, the greatest prison is knowledge. The greatest prison, imprisonment is not just physical. Imprisonment can be psychological. You live your whole life under the wrong idea and feel like you're missing out on where you need to be. And this world will not give you a break because they are all conditioned to feel their ideas are right. They will make you into an idea, they will drag you down until that idea is your only breathing room. But how dare anything tell you, an unknown being, how dare any content, specific content of this jar of your moment, of this moment you're in, limit the whole moment for you? Do you know how intense it is to live 34 years and realize that a certain part of your moment, that little idea of you, has been acting like the king of your moment? But the real king is only found through the service of an unknown being to an unknown moment, the absolute. It is in some sense the absolute service, the greatest service of a being in this realm. The hardest thing to do, to trust yourself as an unknown being and to trust the moment as an unknown moment and let it be. And what happens within your moment is how the divine speaks to you. But the moment you think you are part of the moment, you have lost sight of the presence that never could be. Who are we really? Who are we really in this world? Are we unknown beings acting like we know ourselves before, and at some point leaving this realm realizing we knew nothing? And even more intensely, what if there requires higher authorization from those that see the moment beyond us? But it is not those, it is a singular point. All manifestation, in the same way that in one moment a human being can envision a universe, you can remember a moment that is not physical. It is occurring to me that the greatest trick was embodiment. Think of it this way. Your life is a journey, and there are 3 tickets. Or think of it this way. Life is a plane of existence like an airplane. You are a traveler. You're a passenger in this plane of existence. But from the beginning, you can choose whether you want economy, middle, or first class. The first class journey in this world, the one where it is not burdened, because the moment the idea of you is there, it becomes a bag that all the other ideas need to go in. The deeper understanding of the inner realms of the human species is that it is in some sense an incredible multidimensionality of rooms. You think that you are an idea, but you don't realize you enter an idea forgetting that you stepped into that room. Behind your eyes all. There's a famous painting called The Fall of Phaeton. It depicts a story in Greek mythology where a god that is not ready goes to, in some sense, ride these chariots that maintain universal order. And he makes a mistake, and Zeus banishes him, destroys him on sight. Is our species ready for its future? Or will it give the moment a reason to destroy it? The hardest challenge, I do not know how. To me, it is done by the higher power. The higher power is commands before this life, to this life. You're a commanded being, you don't remember. There are commands and instructions even before this life. Only those who realize that their rank truly comes from beyond the world remember. For when you are in your moment and you identify, think of it this way. Imagine instead of the moment, it's a room. And you've gone into this room and you think this room is everything to you. You're sitting on a chair in this room, or you're lying in that bed in that room, and you think this room is everything. Because you're identifying with what's in the room. If you ask questions about, wait a minute, this is not my room, this is not my stuff, this is just a room. What is freedom? For most beings, it is to avoid defeat, but they defeat themselves in thinking they can be. All of this leads to a very important question. Is it a completed system, or is it an incomplete system? Just because the human being experiences an incomplete moment, does this mean that a greater effort in regards to the organization of all reality hasn't been put? We human beings cannot create a machine using our human minds that is exactly like the biological human body. And when we look at the biological human body, the complexity of thought, the orchestration of all the positions of the organs, we may not know what calculates beyond us, but we know there is calculation. We know that in some sense the moment, the known content in the moment, presents us a position where we cannot see the edge of our world, we cannot see the edge of the cosmos, but we can see the complexity of our human body, the amount of design put into it and in all nature, and the ability to even adapt, suggesting the body is not just any simulation, it's an adapting one. There will come a moment in your life where you will realize you are truly unknown. You will realize the moment is unknown. You will realize you have been entering into the thoughts and embodying them in the same way that this body is embodied. But this body is not by your command. And so you're living in a realm that is collaborative. And if you cannot honor or acknowledge the presence of an organizational power, beyond human, then you have not looked well enough. Even from a religious perspective, it has all changed for me. My known self was praying to an unknown power. But when I realized I am unknown too, an unknown being's only prayer or act of worship of an unknown power is faith, because there is no known condition. Among you, there are those who will notice they don't exist before they exist. They are the true adapters. They are those who open the doors for the future. Because what master do you serve? The past, the present, or the future, or the unknown beyond? For the Lord of worlds is beyond the worlds. And most likely in 1,573 years, all beings will be able to manifest themselves as worlds. Not just a being in it. For how can you have an ability to step out of a room if you don't know there is a door in the room? What if there is a door that must be opened behind your eyes? A door where no one idea is your master, where conditional realities do not contain your whole life. And what is even death? The return to the unknown. So if you started from the unknown, you're returning to the unknown, and in the middle it's simulated. It seems like the only thing that's missing is we've forgotten it's unknown. And when you no longer grip yourself as an idea, when you no longer take yourself as an idea from this world, higher beings will meet you. Their games, unending. For the true end is the return, the call of the return. Just like how human beings have thoughts, or they witness inner events for the sake of taking the moment forth. You use a hammer or a wrench or a tool to fix something. The moment you fix something, you no longer require the tool. Similarly, for the human position, could we be tools used by an unknown power for the sake of presenting experiences for those to come? Could our lifetimes be a matter of not how we used itself, not how the tool knew better how to use itself, but the tool is used by a higher intelligence to fix the situation and no longer is needed. Therefore, why the intense attachment to ourselves? Why the intense attachment to our forms? The secret view seems to be that in the tool being used, it has purpose, but the tool must realize its expression is not it only. And so I'll leave the briefing there. Return. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to change the flow of the lecture a little bit. Just felt anyways, guys, yeah. I'm kind of like out of that rhythm now. It's kind of strange because what I just said to you, I have a different recollection of it right now. But I will say this, that ultimately I think there's no advanced state. There's no more advanced state than being unknown, realizing you're an unknown force, realizing from the beginning of your life you've been interacting with an unknown moment. The knowledge is the content in it. That's simulated. If you identify with the simulated, you enter the room of that thought, and then you suffer that room. Sorry, guys. My eyes were closed when I was giving the talk. I don't know. That was a different rhythm. My attention's to the chat section. I finished that rhythm. All right, guys. Yeah. All right. So. Somebody says the consideration that God, the conscious I am, wants to live and experience the role play of you, through you, and as you. Somebody says return to what? Try to interact with the chat, man. Yeah, so my eyes were closed, guys. Guys, this wasn't a normal. I was feeling a different energy when I started the talk. My eyes are usually open, like my eyes are open now. But at the beginning, right, it was my eyes were closed the whole time I was giving the lecture. I feel like it was the moment speaking, not me. Okay, now I'm me again. Okay, so somebody says why it's suffering, why the room seems suffering. Okay, so I'm out of that rhythm, but I will say this. If you are a known entity, then known things happen to you. You have known expectations over those things. You suffer. But I don't know. I found that honesty with myself in the moment where if I ask myself right now, do I know who I am? I know that it can't be the ideas and the views I have now, because every moment I've had different views. So it's a force. I think the most complex thing for are the beings that we are is to accept that we are unknown and access our full life. Do you know? That means I feel like we're living 50% of our lives. Okay? When you feel like an unknown being, an unknown moment, at least I could tell you something experientially recently, you don't get upset and angry because the mind has not assumed you are something specific. Okay? So when you realize you're not something specific, then the specific things people do not burden you. And at the same time, the reality is that, like right now, I don't see your inner realms. You don't see my inner realms. If you do something, let's say something or do something, I would in some sense have to interpret it through my inner realms, meaning it's unknown. That means, I guess I could tell you experientially, my inner realms, what I'm looking at is that these are all conditions, simulated conditions. What's actually going on here for each being, the soul, is an unknown force in an unknown moment. I think when you reach that, your unknown life begins. It is not the life of the idea of you that is trying to survive, and that idea changes also. Do you understand? That means, do you want to live here? Because if truly your whole moment wants to live, it is not just one part of your moment, let's say whether it's a thought or an object or subject. Somebody says, what about seeing through thing, not just having expectations? I don't know. Can you rewrite that again, please? Your question? You see, guys, I guess I'll say it this way. I want you to imagine, this is going to sound very bizarre, but I want to imagine you are a master and you've enslaved something. Okay, just assume that. Assume this idea. But what you have enslaved is yourself. Okay? Or let me say it this way. If somebody wears a clown costume... Sorry, I don't know why that made me laugh. I think it's because I saw this video. This guy wore a clown costume. He went to this police station and he's like, it's such a stupid video. He went to this police station and he's like, hey guys, as you can see, I'm very qualified to work here. Can you tell me what the process of working here is? And the police officer's like, get out now. If your whole life, the idea of you've been living for the idea of you, I guess unenslave yourself, release that idea, and just realize you don't even need a spiritual experience or anything. Just be conscious of how much more unknown than known there is. At least that gives the patience to see. Anyways, folks, the rhythm spoke for itself. Thank you for listening. I don't know why I feel there's more questions. It's just like something's ringing. I guess I'll end it here. You were an unknown being from the beginning, experiencing an unknown moment. Everything else is within your moment, is content in the moment. The life of the moment is not human, is beyond. Therefore, human beings may not be advanced, what the presence that moves all is. If you shape yourself, you get to see no other shape you can be. But if you release yourself from the idea of a shape, how much will you see? Perhaps the ticket to eternity was self-release. We release the moment. We don't enslave our moments of being in an idea and just live for the future of that idea. The presence of the whole moment knows what you don't know by identifying as something specific in the moment. For what breaks the curse of knowledge is the unknown. You see not to contain. You see to know and let be. And the moment you're not a specific idea or identifying with the specific content of your moment, you will realize you have given an opportunity for the moment to show you who you are. So think of it this way. Imagine there's someone who's made like a next level kettle of tea, okay? Some next level brewed tea, steep tea or something. And your identity or who you are and your expectations, all that is like a cup, okay? And right before that person, that unknown, let's say force or unknown person comes and pours tea into your cup, right before that you pour it, like let's say you have a water bottle from the past, you open that up and fill up the cup before the moment can fill up the cup. In other words, people suffer because the idea of them is fighting their unknown moment. If you can retire the idea of you, the sign of knowing the unknown moment is unconditional smiling. For how long should this world define you? Or the content in the moment specifically. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Oh, there's questions. Somebody says, is the meaning of life to love? To love unconditionally, an unconditional moment, as an unconditional being? When a parent loves a child, it doesn't matter what condition the child is in. If you can love the moment, regardless of the condition it's in, then I don't see why not. My whole point is it's unknown before I have known expectations on it. It's more unknown than known. And contentment with the unknown is, I don't know why I keep saying this, but it's liberation. It will liberate. It will even get rid of sickness, physical sickness. Because all physical sickness are rooms you have stepped in behind your eyes and you don't know you're still in. Ideas you identify as that you don't know really what the outcome of it is or how they are there. So it is not about conditional faith or other words you would like to use. It's about unconditional. unconditional faith, I think is a very advanced state. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful and the most advanced, in honor of the original moment, original unconditional moment that all moments, all conditions have arisen from and will return to. Thank you for listening. Have a great night.